Wow. Wow. You always think of, what it would be like if you ever enshrined into the Hall of Fame and people say, what will you do when you get up to the podium? And I tell them, I don't know. I'll tell you when I get up there. And right now, I don't have a lot of, I got like numb, a tingle, from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head. This is so special. All the guys talk about who's going to, break up. I started to break up when Al Davis was talking. And so if they have a contest or any bet, I knew I was going to lose that one anyway. But I just wanted to take this first moment just to make a memory and, say how special this feeling is. To be in here, in Canton with these great people of Canton, Ohio. You can't believe the job that they do. It's not only today, the game, the parade. They have 100,000 people at the parade at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is a special place. And this is a celebration of football. And when you celebrate pro football, it has to be here in Canton, Ohio, because this is where the NFL started. And I want to thank you people and all the pro football fans and the pro football writers that voted me into the Hall of Fame, led by Frank Cooney and Ira Miller. A special thanks to them, but everyone that made that possible. It was a long wait, but it was a wait that when you finally get in, it's made it all worthwhile because the feeling is so special and you appreciate it so much more. And the class that I go in with, Harry Carson and Rayfield Wright and Warren Moon and Reggie White and Sarah, is and Troy Aikman is such a great thing, and I'm proud to be in this class because we're always going to be connected with each other. We'll always be, the class of 2006, and that'll be forever. And I'll tell you, these are all good people, good guys, and I am proud to go into this 2006 Hall of Fame class with these guys. These are good, and it's one people. And then, the Hall of Famers behind me, that's what it's all about. I was reading the NFL stats and history book, and that's what when you do when you ride a bus, when you don't fly, you read, big old thick books like that. But they had a chapter on history. And the first page in the chapter of history was a list of the Hall of Famers. And I said, that's right, they got it. That is our history. The players that played before us, the players that played when they didn't have face masks, when they had leather helmets, when got this thing started. The players that played in smaller stadiums, didn't have the medical thing, didn't have anything. They laid the foundation for this great game, and we should never forget it. I say to NFL teams that you ought to honor your history more. Sometimes we tend to get caught up in the players and the games now. Honor your history. Bring back the Hall of Famers. Bring back their teammates. Let the fans show their appreciation to their history. Because I know that, going in with these guys is so special. And, we'll always talk about immortality, and some of us think maybe we will be immortal, that we'll live forever, but when you really think about it, we're not going to be. But I say this, and this is overwhelming and mind-blowing, that through this bust, with these guys in that hall, we will be forever. And when you think of that, it just blows your mind, that it's forever and ever and ever. And you have to stay with me a moment on this one. This is a little goofy here, and you're going to say, oh, there's old Madden being goofy again. But I started thinking about this after I got voted into the Hall of Fame. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's true. And now I know it's true and I believe it. Here's the deal. I think over in the Hall of Fame that during the day, the people go through and they look at everything. And then at night, there's a time when they all leave. And all the fans and all the visitors leave the Hall of Fame. Then there's just the workers. Then the workers start to leave. And then it gets down, there's just one person. And that person turns out the light, locks the door. I believe that the busts talk to each other. And I can't wait for that conversation. I really can't. To Vince LaMarche, to Newt Rockne, to Reggie, to Walter Payton, to the guys that you want to say, to all my players, my ex-players, we'll be there forever and ever and ever, talking about whatever. And that's what I believe, and that's what I think is going to happen, and no one's ever going to talk me out of that. Thank you. Those guys back there all going, oh no, I don't have to put up with this for eternity. But this is a celebration, and it should be fun, and it has to be great. And to have Al Davis here is something special. I mean, if it weren't for Al, I wouldn't be here. And he was the guy that gave me an opportunity. He was the guy that hired me 40 years ago, brought me into pro football. He was the guy that made me a head coach when I was 32 years old. And I had 2 years of pro coaching experience. Now that's who the names a guy 32 years old as a head coach? Al Davis did. But he not only named me head coach, but he stood behind me, and he helped me, and he provided me with players, with great players. As he was saying, 9 of the players were in the Hall of Fame. I mean, those are the types of players that he provided me with. And he stood behind me, not only the 10 years I was a head coach, but he stood behind me for the last 40 years. And Al Davis is a friend, always has been a friend. I remember I had the opportunity to induct him into the Hall of Fame, and at the time, I said, talking about loyalty and what a guy Al Davis was, I said that he's the guy that, if you had anything happen, you had one phone call, who would you make that phone call to? I said it would be Al Davis. All these years later, I had an opportunity. I got voted into the Hall of Fame. I had a phone call to make for a presenter, and I called Al Davis. Yeah, I just talked to my mom, and she's watching, and hi Mom, I love you, and I know I was talking about how excited I am and how I haven't slept in 3 days, and my mind is mushing. She just said, me too, and she has the same feelings, and and she's not right here, but she's here in spirit, and she's a special person that's been with me, for 70 years of my life, and I know that my dad, who died in 1960s, is up there looking down and laughing. And my mom's probably laughing right now too, because when I was a sophomore in high school, I was playing in summer baseball, and I was playing on 3 or 4 different teams. And I told my dad, I'm gonna drop a couple of these because I want to get a job to make some money. And my dad said, no, he said, I'll give you a couple bucks, go caddy, make a few loops, and you'll be okay. He said, don't work. He said, because once you start work, you're going to have to work the rest of your life. And my dad worked hard. He was a mechanic, and he worked hard. And the reason I say that he's up there laughing right now is because I listened to him, and I continued to play, and I have never worked a day in my life. I went from player to coach to a broadcaster, and I am the luckiest guy in the world. And my sisters, Dolores and Judy, they were there with me. They supported, everything that I did, because life with me as a kid was just a locker room. Every day was recess, and they knew that, and they went along with it and supported everything, and I love them, and I appreciate that. If there was a Hall of Fame for families, my family would be in the Hall of Fame. My wife, Virginia, my 2 sons, Joe and Mike. They talk about how hard coaches work, and they work 18, 20 hours a day. They sleep on a couch. They don't come home. And That's not the hard job. The hard job is a coach's wife, believe me. The job of the coach's wife is she has to be mother, father, driver, doctor, nurse, coach, everything, because the coach is out there working. So, when anyone is appreciated, they have to appreciate the wife, and I had the greatest, and I have the greatest in Virginia. Thank you. Stand up, you deserve it. After all those years putting up with me, you deserve to stand up and take a bow on this day. And my two sons, Mike and Joe, I'm so proud of them. They're not only my two sons, but they're my two best friends. And just everything that they do. I used to, when they were kids, I used to take them to practice on Saturdays, and I'd take them to the Pro Bowl, and I coached the Pro Bowl way too many times. But I used to take them to the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl, every time I could, and those were special times. As I look back now, on my coaching career, I think of my family, and I think of the days that we spent together. And I say this to coaches everywhere: if you ever have a chance to take your kids with you, take them. Don't miss that opportunity, because when it's all over and done with, and you look back, those are going to be your fondest memories. And when you go into Hall of Fame, at my age, then you have kids who have wives, and then they have kids. So Mike's wife is Noelle, Joe's wife is Wendy. And then between them, they've given me 5 grandkids that I love to death, and they're the love of my life. They're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Sam, Jack, Jesse, Aiden, and McKenna. And that's what it's all about. It's about family, and and having them here with your team. I know I go into the Hall of Fame as a coach, and I know that I go into the Hall of Fame because of my players and what they did. And I'm so proud, Al already introduced the players that are in the Hall of Fame behind me. If they just stand up, and all my players that are out there, there's between 30 and 40 X-rated players. All stand up. Stand up. My family, stand up. Stand up. Just take your day. You remember them. You remember Cliff Branch. You remember Phil Villapiano. You remember Big Ben Davidson. You remember all these guys, John Valla, Henry Lawrence, all these guys that did all these things. And no, stay up. This is our day in the sun. Doggone it, take it. If we're here, stay up and take it, and you guys stand up and take it too. Fred Blitnikoff, the whole thing, Big Ben Davidson there. These are the guys. This is what it was all about. These are the guys that I go in here and no, stand up, Ben. All of a sudden, 30 or 40 years ago, they were ready to hit anything, talk anything, let's go to the party, let's do all this. Now they want to sit down. Stand up, enjoy the moment. This is ours. They can't take it away from us. They can't ever take us away from us. And thanks to all of you. Gus, the whole bunch of you, I love you. Thank you very, very much. All those great Raider names in the 70s, and we had such special fans, and the whole thing, it was just something, that I'll never forget, and something that, if it weren't for them, we'll have a party after too, so don't worry about it. We'll go through, and it's been a great road from Madden's lot in Daly City with, John Robinson. John, who would believe this, huh? This is amazing. And to Jefferson High School with my first real coach, Joe McGrath, and then to Roy Hughes at Cal Poly, and my roommate Pat Lovell is here, my college roommate. Then to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Norm Van Brocklin had a great influence on me. To Hancock College with Al Baldock. Then to San Diego State with a great coach that someday will be in here, Don Coryell. And he had a real influence on my coaching, and Joe Gibbs was on that staff too. And then we went to the Oakland Raiders. John Roush was the head coach. Ollie Spencer, Tom Doms, Charlie Sumner, John Polanchik was there, Joe Scannella, Tom Flores came later, all those great coaches, John Robinson. I thank you all because, again, you go in as a coach, but you take your players and your assistant coaches with you. And it's been so long that I had a pretty good road afterwards also. And, I ride a bus, I don't fly, and the road has been with Dave Hahn, who was my first bus driver who passed away, Willie Yarborough, Joe Mitchell. I spend so much time with them that they're part of my team now and my family. And then Sandy Montag is my agent. He's been with me for over 20 years, and I'm an agent schmagent. He's a friend, and he's a very good friend, and I thank him for everything that he has done for me. And and my years at CBS and Fox were pretty good with Pat Summerall, and and that team, and Bob Stenner and Sandy Grossman. And then I say I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Then I go to ABC and now NBC with Al Michaels, Fred Godelli, and Drew Esikoff. And by the way, we have a game right over here tomorrow night. So you talk about a full weekend. Man, they have dinners and parades and induction ceremonies, and then a game tomorrow night, which will be broadcasting the first one that I do with NBC. So I just want to say in closing that it's been a great ride, and I want to thank everyone who's been along for any part of it. And speaking of great rides, I was lucky enough to be carried off the field after we won Super Bowl 11. Now I was told it took like 5 or 6 guys to lift me up, and then they dropped me.